So this is going to be a video about the student loan issue, my thoughts on it. Kind of a nuanced opinion here. This is actually a topic I've been wanting to talk about, but recently came up because Linda McMahon, I think is her name. Let me pull that up. Should have probably got ready before I started filming this, so I apologize. Yeah, Linda McMahon, which is funny because she's the wife of Vince McMahon from WWE. So like this is just more of a Trump being Trump, appointing someone like that. It's just kind of funny, but effectively what the Department of Education is going to become now. Sorry, let me adjust this camera. It's kind of weird. What the Department of Education is going to become now is just a loan collection agency. And the reason why I say my opinion is nuanced is because I can see very strong arguments for both. This is one issue where it's hard for me to, I'm not normally a fence sitter, so I don't want to come on here and be like all Tim Pool about it, but this is one issue where that like it kind of is a bit nuanced and possibly 50-50. I'll get into why. So on the first hand, you do have a lot of people holding debt, and I think it's particularly women today. I didn't pull up the numbers. Apologize for that. I probably should have. I can use my little like crappy this is like my old iPhone that barely works. But yeah, let's look this up. What percentage of people hold student loans? So it says, this is in April 2025, it says about 16% of U.S. adults currently have federal student loans. So that's insane, actually, because really, whenever I read articles, I always try to add like 4% to whatever they're saying. I did this with immigration, right? During Biden, when he was saying like, oh, there's only been 10 million. So it's like, you just add. It's like, oh, it's probably more like 15, 20 million, but that was like in that was in like 2022, so it's way worse. So yeah, we've got 16% of the US adults holding on to student loans. And then let's see, like, what's the average? Is the average? Sorry, this phone is like really old and slow. So I'm like typing, but it's like delayed. This is like an iPhone 6, I think, from like 2017. I pretty much just use this for like watching videos and stuff now. So, what is student loan debt? Yeah, so it's what I thought. So 38,375. So I've known that for a while, that most of the student loans are about $40,000. Now, when I went to school, I only took out about 9,000, and I haven't completely paid that off, but it's just been like sitting in the because of COVID. It's just been kind of sitting in deferment, and it will be paid off. That'll be very easy to pay off. That's not really my point, but yeah, a lot of people are much higher than me, much higher interest rates than me. My loans have like a very, very low interest rate, to the point where it's almost like non-existent. And I exited college exactly 10 years ago now, actually. I graduated in 2015. So yeah, wow, that's crazy to think about. It's already been 10 years. Yeah, the reason why I'm a little bit nuanced on this, right, is because, and it really bugs me. What made me want to make this video, actually, is There's a video that just came out today, and I'm scheduling this video. So, like, I'm filming this on the 30th of April, but you're probably going to be watching this in May, because I'm probably just going to schedule it out. But it doesn't matter, because this issue is... I think the student loan thing starts in May, like May 5th is when I think the whole, like, collections are going to start. I don't know what that means for me as well. I looked at my student loan thing the other day, and it still says I'm in deferment until 2026. So I don't really know what that means. I don't exactly know what they're going to do. Are they going to be like... That's what I mean. Like, is the Department of Education just going to be like a loan shark at this point? I don't know. But, let's see. May 5th. Yeah, May 5th. I remember. Student debt collections restart on May 5th. Here's what to know. Let's actually read this article, guys. Why not? This is from New York Times. So yeah, actually no. Oh, let's see. Can I read this? Is this a stupid paywall? Okay, it's not a paywall. Wow, I'm shocked. I thought New York Times was one of those rags. So anyway, it says more than 5 million borrowers are in default. 5 million, yeah, so that is, yeah, that's about 16%, like it said. So we've got like 380 in default, though. So I looked mine up. Mine is in forbearance, so that's very different than default. I don't know how they're going to sort that out. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking is, like, after 2026 for me, I would be in default. I'm just thinking that they're just going to not, because that was something that kept happening during Biden, is I would, like, pay it off, but then he would, like, kick the can down the road, is like, oh yeah, you actually don't have to pay till next year, kind of thing. So it says, after a 5-year reprieve, the Trump administration will restart forced collections on federal student loans in default, which could include garnishing a portion of borrowers' paychecks. With collections in place, the last piece of the student loan machinery has been turned back on, officially ending pandemic-era relief. This is what I mean about my nuanced view, is they're talking about this like it was relief, right? They completely destroyed the economy, guys. Like, in 2020, they just destroyed the economy. And so the lockdowns, all this stuff, this was not us. This was not like millennials and Gen Z that wanted this. This was strictly boomers. Boomers wanting to not die because they got afraid of some virus, because they all watch CNN and they all watch Fox News and they bought the propaganda. Trump himself bought the propaganda. And so that's the annoying thing about this, is a lot of us, our financial situations are just absolutely garbage. And that goes back even farther to the boomers, because the boomers are the ones that started this crazy money printing to begin with. You could argue that it started way before with, like, Nixon, but from, like, Bill Clinton on, really, we have been nothing but a debtor nation to the worst degrees possible. And also, Obama was the one that federalized student loans, so the boomers pretty much voted for him. That might have been, like, the first election that a lot of millennials voted for, but largely, I mean, the boomers voted for Obama. I'm sorry. Like, I think 2008, I was 20 years old when Obama ran. So, like, I didn't vote. I actually didn't vote until Obama's second term, and embarrassingly, I voted for Mitt Romney, but whatever. That's what I mean. Like, not millennials themselves couldn't have been why Obama won. Obama won because of the race issue. He did the whole MLK civil rights crap, and the boomers fell for it. So why I'm going on this rant is because this is the annoying part of the student loan debate, is that all of this could have been avoided if the boomers didn't have this, like, religiosity around the degree, right? Because that's another thing, is what was all the advice you got as a young person? And I think Zoomers get this too. go to college so you can get a good job. That was like what I heard all the time. Go to college. And then the boomers will say something like, oh, I paid my loans off easily. It's like, yeah, you paid your loan off in 1970 when you could work a part-time job as a janitor and make enough money to pay it off because hyperinflation hadn't come and hit you in the ass yet. So anyway, that's I'm going to keep reading here, but it says, with collection in place, the last piece of the student loan machine. Okay, I already read that. The Biden administration extended the freeze several times, and payments resumed. By the way, the Biden student loan thing is a good test case for how Trump can start ignoring the courts. That's completely not related to this, but Trump is having trouble right now with deportations because the courts keep getting in his way. Well, guess what? Biden ignored the courts on the student loan thing. I knew this for several years. So Trump should start doing that as well. Just a side note, because that's another thing that has completely screwed our country. And largely it had boomer support, is the immigration. Why do they like immigration? Because it increases their real estate values. That's really all it is, guys. If you want to know why immigration is even a thing, why women are in the workforce, which is another lie, by the way, women going to college in the workforce, is because it increases the GDP, which means it increases their stock portfolios and it increases their real estate property values. That's all this has ever been. I don't even care about any other argument about merit or whatever. All this has ever been about is green line go up. And yeah, that's another, like why did Obama federalize the student loans? Because it's for interest groups. He wanted to get people on the hook, get all these schools to. This is just how you do it. You constantly get people. You're selling them your vote. You're just constantly giving them gibs, and so free college that's kind of how. I remember when I was young and I first went to college, I didn't think about it this way, but a lot of people thought about it that way. They thought that this is free college. I remember one guy, he got like, I can't even remember, it was like maybe like $10,000 to $12,000 in grant money. It wasn't FAFSA. He got his FAFSA, but he also got like a grant as well for like a football scholarship or something like that. And I remember this guy within a month, I couldn't believe it. He went out and he bought a car. This was in like 2013, 2012. He went out and he bought a car. He bought a flat screen TV. Flat screen TVs were a lot more expensive 12 years ago, 13 years ago. He bought an Xbox 360 because this was when, or no, he bought an Xbox One. This would have had to have been 2013 because this was when like the Xbox One was like a new thing and it cost like $500. He went out and bought all this stuff. And I remember he dropped out within like 2 months. He just completely dropped out because he never went to class. He just stayed home all day, smoked weed, and played video games. And I saw this a lot, guys. I saw this a lot. And this is I'll get into the arguments, but this is just something that I saw a lot. So this is how the millennials, and I don't know, again, I'm not Gen Z, but I don't know how they think about it. I think Gen Z's waking up. That's one thing I like about Gen Z is they were able to watch two generations, Gen X and Gen Y, millennials, kind of go through this. So, but that really was what a lot of people thought. They thought that this was free money. They thought they could just go out and spend it, right? I never had this mentality, thank goodness. I took out approximately $9,000 to $10,000. It basically was that to get a worthless associate's degree. I mean, it's hanging on my wall, but it's literally worthless as far as I'm concerned. I always lament that I didn't just start reading books earlier because I would have found out about Bitcoin and then I'd probably be sitting pretty retired right now in a nice property or something. But it is what it is, right? That was the whole point of this college thing, and the boomers pushed the propaganda because the boomers went to college and they were able to, get their high school teacher job and whatever the boomers did to get, I can be a nurse. I can be a male nurse. Anyway, So yeah, now it's saying that the penalties have begun to appear. Borrowers who fell behind are beginning to see their credit scores plunge, which I checked my credit score and it's still the same. But yeah, I think this is if you're in default, not forbearance. At the same time, the Biden-era repayment program known as SAVE, which ties a borrower's loan payment to income and household size, has been frozen since August. Yeah, and that is true. It has been frozen. I've been getting all sorts of these weird messages about, like, they're kind of schizophrenic. It'll be, oh, you should worry, you shouldn't worry, kind of thing. And so I check it like monthly. I've been doing that for about a year now because I knew this was coming. By the way, I knew this was coming. I'm not trying to like claim victim status here. You know, I'll pay off my own loan when I have the employment situation to do that. Because again, guys, one of the reasons why I don't have a job is because I got laid off. Why did I get laid off? Because COVID. I mean, this is what I mean about they continually screw us with economic catastrophe after economic catastrophe because you have inept economists, like absolutely inept. You got people like Thomas Sowell that exist, and they don't even listen to these people. You know, instead you get Paul Krugman. He's the guy that gets up there and talks about stuff. You know, you get what's that stupid guy that there's like a meme about him every time he makes a prediction. You bet the opposite. Kramer. I know his last name's Kramer. But these are the people. These are the people, right? You had Janet Yellen during Biden. I've read just books on economics, and I feel like I understand more about this stuff than they do. Because there's you have Austrian economics, which is sound, and you have Keynesian economics, which is what the government runs on. They just print debt. That's all they do. That's all they've ever done. They print debt, they sell bonds, and they have the euro dollar. The euro dollar makes them makes them feel like they're invincible because they're like, oh, we're the world currency. We can do whatever we want, right? No one owns us. Well, we're finding out with BRICS and all that might not be the case. But I'm digressing again. I apologize, guys. I go on these rants. It's very hard for me to stay focused sometimes. And then, yeah, this might be over anyway because now it's just giving advice of like, where can I find my loan? My loans are in default. Okay, here's one. We got to read this. My loans are in default. What happens next? The Education Department said it will begin forced collections on loans in default on May 5th, which means any tax refunds or other federal payments can be withheld and applied. So all that means is they'll seize your tax refund, which, to be honest, if you're making over $60,000 a year, you're probably not even getting a tax return anyway at this point. $100,000 a year, you're definitely not getting a tax return. I think you pay like 40% of your income at that rate. It's ridiculous. That's one thing that Trump's been floating that I wouldn't mind seeing is he wants like we'll see what happens with the tariffs, but he's trying to go after the income tax. But the first thing he talked about is anyone making like 100,000, I think it's like 150,000 now or less, pays no income tax. So I mean, I'm all for that. If you want to lower our tax burden so we can pay off these stupid predatory loans, because that's another thing is this article so far. I've seen nothing about holding the universities responsible. You know, you're teaching Afrocentrist gender theory degrees. You're teaching like reparations, reprieve. I don't know what all these degrees are anymore, right? You're literally people going into debt for the most useless degrees you could ever imagine. Not getting jobs, right? That's another. I think I've talked about this in a previous video, but I've only met one person, and she's a boomer, in my life that is actually working the job that she went and got a degree for. Only one person. Nobody my age. Everyone my age that I've asked this question about, because I worked customer service, they were all there with me. Now, my degree, I got an associate's of science. I literally just went to college because the boomers told my parents told me to. I felt the pressure, right? Like I said, so my degree is actually meaningless, and I never went and got a bachelor's because I kind of woke up. I remember I was gonna do that, and I had like a panic attack. I still remember that vividly. I just woke up like, this is a scam. I can't do it. And thank God for that. But yeah, let's go back to this. Okay, so yeah, they're going to take your tax refund. Seizures from recurring payments like Social Security benefits won't start until early June. So I guess if you're on Social Security, again, that applies to like boomers. I don't know what millennial is on Social Security. We're the net payers for that, by the way. That's another thing. We're funding the boomers' retirement right now. This summer, the government said it will send out required notices that pave the way for garnishing a portion of borrowers' paychecks. Like I said, I'm unemployed right now, still trying to find a job. I don't know if I get that letter, like I don't know what to say. I don't make money. I'm basically that's one of the reasons why I started up this YouTube channel again, is hopefully to get it going, and see some income here, because I've been barely scraping by. It says, if you are among the 5 million borrowers in default, or those with loans. So this is the one that I was wondering, because my loans are way past 270 days. But it says loans 270 days or more overdue, you should expect to receive an email from the Federal Student Aid Office in the next couple of weeks, urging you to get in touch with its default resolution group. That unit can help get your loan situation sorted. There are serious consequences, blah, 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 if the loans remain in default, which means balance becomes immediately due. Another thing about this is that, like, I just don't even know how this is going to work, because there are people that have, like, guys, there are people that have, like, $60,000 in debt. The interest payments alone is, like, it's just like indentured servitude. Like, this is the only generation in the history of America that basically they cannot buy a house because they were told to do this instead. Like, they can't even start life. We're entering our 40s, guys. The millennials are entering our 40s, and we can't start a life because of the absolute bad advice that we were given. And there will be no ramifications for that. The boomers will be able to die off completely peacefully in the next 15, 20 plus years, depending on how long a lot of them live. And they're just, we're meant to carry the bag. That's always been how it is. And yeah, it's just saying you can pay the loan. That's probably what I'm gonna do. Like, that'll be the first thing I do now when I get a job, is just pay this off. But yeah, I'm not gonna go over all this, because now it's just going over the pay as you earn crap. So I'll close that now. And kind of want to, we're 23 minutes in. By the way, thanks for watching. If you guys are new, consider subscribing. And for returning viewers, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, make fun of me, disagree with me, whatever you guys want. Just engagement would be really nice on the channel, trying to get that going. Yeah, the pros and cons here. So I basically went over the cons, right? I ranted and bitched and moaned about that part. So I'll go into the other side of why I can see this as a good thing. You have a lot of political activists out there right now, guys. A lot of what you see in the economy, as far as voting Democrat and just all of this stupid stuff, like why millennials and Gen Z have just completely lost their minds in the last 10 years. It's because, one, there was a death cult formed around Obama's presidency. 8 years of Obama put a lot of people into this. I don't know how to explain it. I did live it, and I remember it was absolutely cringe, because I'm not really a Republican, but I've always been very right-wing because I grew up that way. But a lot of people, I remember my college professors, this was like early, this was way before the woke stuff. This was like before it's the Great Awakening started, which in 2015. My college professors would give lectures on this stuff, of like the benefits of free healthcare and oh, you're in college. Like the one college professor literally was like, you should be thanking Obama because you're in this classroom right now. Like this is the kind of crap and it was a stupid English 2 class. I learned how to write a research paper. Like I know how to do that stuff. I do that stuff with YouTube videos. Now this was all really pointless knowledge if you think about it. Um, so the positive of this, like they're saying, is that there's going to be some ramifications now, right? People are going to have to take accountability, and I do agree that people need to take accountability. But again, one of the problems that I'm seeing that they're going to come up against is most of the student debt. That's something I didn't look up, but I know this is true. To give you guys a number, is that most of the student debt is held by women. Particularly millennial women. So, is hell. I wonder if they'll even give it to me. Give me this, because Google is stupid like that. Okay, no, it actually gave it to me. Women hold 64% of all student loan debt. During 2019 to 2020, 49% of women undergraduates took out student loans compared to 42% of male undergraduates. So this is absolutely insane. It says 833 billion guys in student loan debt belongs to women. I'm trying to make the case now, but like I'm finding it difficult. I'm trying to make the pro case for student loan recollections. The only way that this could be used for good, if Trump was really smart, is he would just use this to punish his actual enemies. He would use this to punish the radical left that doesn't pay off their student loans. And there are people that should. Like there are people that are living in cities right now. They're making like 6 figures and they're still not paying their student loan debts off. Those people need to be gone after. But people, like, everybody is broke. Nobody has money. Nobody has direction in life. No, we're not breeding anymore, guys. Like, men and women aren't even talking to each other. There's literally no incentive for anyone to do anything right now other than live a completely hedonistic, materialistic lifestyle. That's what's been sold to us by the boomers. You know, they effectively destroyed God in the total Nietzschean sense with their bad advice and their Constitution talk for our entire lives. Just, it's hard to make the case for me. It actually is. Like, I have sympathy. Can't believe I'm going to say it. I have sympathy for the student loan holders, because the entire premise of student loans was predatory in nature, and we were sold a lie. We were told to do this with the promise of being able to have just what the boomers had. That was essentially that's another thing to consider about the boomers, is they were able to get a lot of what they had without student degrees. Student degrees were like a luxury in their time. Something you only needed to do if you were getting into like higher education or becoming a doctor or something. Like, a lot of people could just work normal jobs and they could live just fine. I remember my uncle, he worked at Walmart for like 20 years. And he made bad financial decisions outside of that, but he was still able to support a family of, I think they had 3 kids. 3 kids. His wife didn't, my aunt, she didn't have to work for most of my childhood. Like, this was the 90s, guys. This was the world the boomers lived in. And it's not that way now. It's not that way at all. They're going to make this our problem, which, you know, it is our problem. We do have to pay off the debt. But, I mean, that's another thing, too. The government, Stefan Molyneux has made this point, and it's always stuck with me. The government expects you to be fiscally responsible while not being fiscally responsible, right? The typical boomer advice, you know. Go to college and get a degree, and then bemoan the fact that nobody can pay off their... what is it? Go to college and get a degree and take out a student loan, and then they're bemoaning the fact that nobody can use their degree and pay off their student loan, right? Like, this is like a cyclical, sick thing that we're going in here. But I don't know. Like I said, the positives, of this is that Trump could just use it. I'm just thinking pure Machiavellian because that's where we're at. Trump could use this to go after his political opponents. Basically a way to cancel culture them, I guess. I don't even care about the term. Like the left did this to us for 10 years now, right? Like use it as a revenge tool. There you go. That is the best way to do it. Go after these insane left activists with this, and maybe that's his plan, but if you just go after the population at large, this is like the tariff thing that he tried to do. If you just try to art of the deal, blanket statement this, like we already know art of the deal doesn't work, because art of the deal at the end of the day is based on a bluff. And if people call the bluff, it doesn't work. I've read the book. I have it on my shelf. I've read Art of the Deal. I know how Trump got rich. I know what he did. You know, that's another thing about Trump too. It's like many ways he completely benefited from the system as it is. Everybody loved Donald Trump before he ran for president. He was like one of the biggest celebrities of all time when I was a kid. So we'll just have to see what happens. That's kind of my thoughts here. Like I didn't think I would dig in this much, but just the more you think about it, it's like this was a complete lie. This entire education system was a complete fraud. It was a way to, because that's another thing. You can even read about this. The CIA has long, in our own government, has long wanted population control. This is why they pushed things like feminism and antinatalism and climate change and all this fear mongering, is because they wanted to give you as many reasons as possible not to start families. And a lot of the men nowadays want to start families, but the problem is they I can't remember the quote, but it said, if you want to destroy a nation, you go after the hearts and the minds of its women. And we are in that stage now where the women have completely drank the Kool-Aid and they're now all in debt. You know, they've gone out and they've partied and they've had sex with tons of guys. And they're just at the point now where a lot of them, my generation, they're in their 30s now and they're looking at their life choices. And, you know, who's going to save them? This is why the socialist government continues, because, you know, if there's no man, then they turn to the state. That's another phenomenon, by the way, guys. Women become very conservative when they get married. Like, why do you think they don't want women getting married and having babies? Because the moment that happens, they mostly lose their voter base. So this is just what I mean. The whole system was designed for this result, and now they're shocked. They're shocked that this is the result, and they're trying to do this tough guy thing. Like this is one thing about the Trump administration that's been somewhat cringe for me, is they're trying to undo like 60 years of societal decline in 4 years. And I've talked before that Trump's been floating the 2028 term, where he might do 3 terms, which I'm all for that. I'm at the point now where we need a monarch. Essentially, we need the strong man to just take charge. But I don't think that's going to happen either. Like none of this is taken seriously. We're still following these old rules. You know, modern problems require modern solutions, as Dave Chappelle said. We're still following these old rules, these old ways of doing things. And it's not working. But anyway, people should pay off their debts. You know, I'm not trying to be a complete lefty on this, but you know, I just look for the truth, guys. I don't have any particular agenda here with this channel anymore. I just need to talk about things and say it how it is. The truth of the matter is that we were sold a complete lie. And you know, maybe the boomers didn't fully understand, right? I give them a lot of sympathy because they themselves went through a lot of psyops, like the sexual revolution and MK Ultra and all that stuff. There's a really crazy book on my shelf called Program to Kill, about serial killers and how a lot of them might just be completely mind-controlled people that went out there. Because that's another thing. The government knows about these things and they let it happen anyway. Because they want to utilize a crisis. So anyway, that's beside the point. I'm not going to digress anymore. I don't know. I'm having. We'll just see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. I won't be that affected because I can find a way to. I mean, the job market really sucks right now. I'm having a hard time, but I'll get a job eventually, and that's always been my first priority, is to kind of pay that off. But yeah, they're the people that have like crazy student loan debts. I mean, like I said, go after the crazy activist types, but I mean, a lot of them, they were just sold the lie. They got the degree, because that was another thing with the degree, is waste as much time as possible. I know people, it's crazy. I know people that spent over a decade in school, essentially just because they were bored. That was like the reason. They just were like, well, I'm bored. Putting off starting a family as long as possible was the goal of this civilization. And so I don't know how they're going to do this. I really don't. And this is not the immigrant thing. This is like domestic citizens. He's going to deport all the immigrants that are defaulting, obviously, which he can use that. Anything he can use to get more deportations up, I'm all for it. But as far as just like your average American that barely makes money, because that's another thing, like wages have not kept up with inflation. So like I'm looking at jobs right now for like $20-15 an hour, and they're hard to get. So like the wages have not kept up with inflation. And I don't know. I'm kind of just rambling now. There's my thoughts, guys. I think that this is it's a good idea, obviously, because you do need to pay off the debts. But I just think that this like full-on attack, this is the boomer mindset of like, we're gonna make you pull yourself up by your bootstraps now and pay off your student loans, blah blah blah. I think anyone that's just taking that stance of like just sucking Trump off on this and just, it's such a good thing, it's a perfect thing for, they're not to be trusted, guys. I've said this before, like anyone that's just pure MAGA and just worships everything Trump does is not to be trusted. But on the same side, the people that have TDS and are just everything Trump does is like the mid-century German, right? I don't know if I could say his name on YouTube. You know what I'm talking about. The great villain of our age, right? You have to be in the center on things like this. You have to look at it for what it is. What is the truth of this? What led to this? This is where history really helps you. If you know your history, you know the future. And so that's the video, guys. It's gone on for 38 minutes. This is way longer than I thought, but I went over that article. Yeah, I don't know. You guys can check it out. I don't think I'm going to link it because I have it on my phone here. I might try to find it and link it in the... But I don't know. You can just look this up. It was very easy just to see with the things I checked. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happens, because that's another, like this, there's the sunk cost fallacy is a big thing with people too, where they're, especially with women. The women have all these degrees. Like really what we need to do is we need to be encouraging women to get back in the home and have families. But the problem is that we've put women in this predicament now where, and men, because the men are powerless at this point, but the women have all this debt, the sunk cost fallacy. They have to work their stupid email job because that's, they're paying off debt. That's all people are doing right now, is servicing debt. Nobody holds assets. Nobody has any plan for retirement because everyone's in debt. So, like, I just don't want to hear it from the boomers. The boomers all have mortgages or paid off houses. Like, they're done. They don't care about the future. The only reason the boomers are freaking out about this is because they're, like you saw with the Trump tariffs, right? Their 401ks and their stock portfolios are taking a hit. I hope the real estate market crashes. I'm waiting for that day. I'm praying for that day when the stock or the housing market just completely collapses, because that is the entire boomer mindset. And maybe the millennials will be able to afford a house one day. Maybe we'll be able to experience that. But anyway, guys, I'm just ranting. Like I said that is the video. Like and subscribe if you got this far. 40 minutes in, that's a good cutoff point. Yeah, I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks so much for watching.